And we're live.
Hello, everyone. It's
Hello.
Amy.
And I'm Olivia. And this is Girls
Girls
Gone
Gone
Spooky.
Spooky.
And I'm wearing my hair like a little doll.
Yes. Ooh.
That's funny.
It just looks like you have a
It's so cool.
headband. Cause
Oh, or like a
with
big wig.
yeah,
Lot of hair, folks.
yeah,
It's better than my alfalfa. I'll put that out for our YouTube video watchers.
yeah. Is it better than the alfalfa?
I don't know.
I, I would
Actually, no, it's
disagree.
not. It's
Yeah.
not better than the alfalfa. Okay, so take me seriously.
Yeah.
Um, well, this week's episode, we're doing some good old fashioned spooks, guys. We
hmm
have done a lot of lore-y kind of things. Lore dash e
More-ish.
y.
hmm
Um, lore-ish, lore-esque. Anyway. In my brain today. I am going to kick us off with my own personal little creepy story, which
Yes.
I insinuated to you before,
Mhm.
which is my boyfriend's apartment.
Oh, spooky.
Also, I just watched Venom and Venom 2.
Huh?
And did you ever see it?
I did, and it's kind of weird
Um,
because I just watched it probably a month ago. So,
that's so weird.
yeah,
What? That's so
coincidence.
weird.
I know.
Maybe it just came on Netflix because we were just scrolling and I was like, I haven't seen Venom. And Noah was like, yeah, I'd watch Venom again. So
Yeah,
that's weird
maybe.
though. But
hmm
Eddie. I can't stop thinking of that because I make that voice a
hmm
lot, like as a
Yeah.
joke. And then I
Yep.
think, Eddie,
Eddie.
parasite, apologize. It's very like dumb and
Yeah.
fun.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, Noah's apartment's creepy as fuck. So let me
Okay.
just. He thinks I'm dumb, but he has also. There was one specific thing where he was like, that was really weird.
Okay.
So, for context, I've only been alone at his apartment like twice, but
Mhm.
I don't know. It's like, how some spaces you're like, this space kind of gives me the wig, but I'm not 100% convinced it's because there's something like paranormal, or if it's just like there's not a lot of natural light and it's kind
Mhm.
of like an older place with like dark wood and like it's hard for me to tell like even now if it's like just kind of gives me the creep sometimes.
Right.
So but then we started bringing Banks around to his place.
hmm
So now we like commute back and forth with Banks, my cat,
hmm
our
Yeah.
mascot, if anyone
Yes.
has forgotten.
Uh-huh.
Um, but so Bing started acting really weird. So we had brought him there like once or twice, and he was kind of fine, like very much like exploring a new space, like very interested. He is not a cat that hides, like, and he
Right.
goes to other people's houses to be like to sitters' houses,
Yeah.
and he like everyone says like he doesn't hide, like it's so great. He seems comfortable right away, blah blah blah. So like great, but for some reason at Noah's place, he hides under his bed, which is like,
Hmm.
okay, that's kind of an unusual behavior, but whatever, don't think much about it.
Yeah.
So he did that the first couple times. He would like come out and hang out with us, but then he'd like pretty much just end up under the bed. So it was like,
Hmm.
all right, weird. So
Yeah.
then those two times were spread out over like a month or two. So more recently we've started commuting with him and then leaving him at one house. So like if I was going to sleep at Noah's like 2 or 3 times in a week, then I just bring him for like
hmm
4 nights
Yeah.
basically. And then he
Right.
would just stay so that he's not like commuting in the backpack all the time because like that's
hmm
not super fun
Yeah.
for him.
Right.
So he starts like acting weird. And like even Noah is like he's being weird. Like
Yeah.
being really like kind of like he's Noah janky. He's being janky now, which I think is like
Uh-huh.
funny because I think of that as like technical things
Yeah.
being janky.
Same.
Um, but
It works.
it fits the definition. But
Yeah.
he started like, I don't know, I just started noticing him doing weird things. So like he would usually like when I lay down or I'm like slightly leaned back, he'll come and sit on my chest and like just want to be petted. And he would be doing that and then he out of nowhere would like jump up and have the zoomies, like, which like it
Hmm.
just doesn't happen when he's at my house,
Right.
or as far as I know, at someone else's house. So then there are a couple of things like that where it's like it looked like he saw something, like he like
Mhm.
moved his head really quickly and looked at something, and then he freaked out, and it was like that's weird. And then one time he did it, and he kind of like backed up off me, and he was looking behind me, like into Noah's kitchen, and the way his eyes were moving were like he was watching someone walk. Because you know,
Walk.
if you're
Hmm.
moving your eyes, like if they're not trained on something, they don't track smoothly. They kind of
Hmm.
like jump. They
Yeah.
weren't doing that. They were like moving really slowly. And I don't know if cats' eyes do that, but it was just weird. And
Yeah.
I was like, that's creepy. And
Very.
then I was kind of like probably a little heightened at that point. But then, like
Mhm.
I kind of forgot about it. Maybe 2 weeks later, Noah had bought him a little mouse toy, and it's really cute. It's got like two little wheels, then it's got just like a little like kind of like triangle shaped cylindrical body. And it kind of like tips up, and then it like zooms, and then it kind of tips forward and kind of
Yeah.
wobbles back and forth. And it's just really clever because it gets his
Mhm.
attention. And when it's on, its tail is lit up like a little rainbow. So um I'm walking from the living room into the bedroom one day, and Noah's in the shower, and I see it like up against our shoes. Oh, and if it's dying, it flashes red. So it's like
Okay.
red flashing.
Yeah.
So, and then when it's off, it's just like it's just clear. It's like there's no light.
Right.
So I could hear it like whatever around. I had turned it on, I think. And then it got stuck in our shoes, it looked like towards the front door. So I looked down, and it was off. Like there was no light, there was nothing, no flashing, nothing. So I was like, it's either stuck there and turned off or it died. So I don't think anything of it, whatever. So I go lay down on the bed for a minute, or I'm doing something in his bedroom. And then I hear this like banging
Mm.
sound. And I was like,
Mhm.
what the fuck? And then I see the little mouse toy like zoom past the door. And I was like, huh? So I went
Wow.
out, I like grabbed it, I turned it off, and then I started like testing to see like what happens, because I had turned it on like hours before. It wasn't like I had just turned it on, so obviously it was on. Like it was off. So
Right.
I was like, that's weird. So I was like trying to figure out how to recreate that, and I couldn't. But then I just thought, I told Noah, and he's like, it was like a $30 toy off Amazon. Like I think maybe it's just like not that
Nothing.
nice and
It's
like
janky. Yeah.
glitched. So I was like, all right. So that was probably a month ago.
Mhm.
So fast forward to like a week ago. No, Noah Binks at night likes to go get what we call his kill, which is his little catnip mouse, and he
Yeah.
meows with it in his mouth. He brings it into the bedroom, and then he
Mhm.
drops it for you to throw. Sometimes, he usually drops it out of reach, and it's like,
Yeah. No.
ditch that. He's meowing in the other room, and I actually don't even know how to explain the sound.
Hmm.
It was like I'm going to try to recreate it, and it's going to sound insane. So just bear with me.
Okay.
So the sound he makes when he's meowing normally is it sounds like this. Meow, meow, meow. So he's like very like kind of whiny sort of deep sound.
Yeah.
It was going meow, meow. And we looked at each other because we it's like a wall, and then his couch is like on the far side of the
Yeah.
other room.
Right.
And it sounded like that's where it was coming from. And we looked at each other as it was still going on. And we were like,
What?
what the fuck was that noise?
Yeah.
Still don't know. Like, still don't
Oh.
know. Noah went and checked, thinking like maybe I left the TV on or something. And it was just him meowing, overlapping with some sound, but the TV was off.
Oh.
He was like,
Uh-huh.
obviously, there's no one out there. Like, he's fine.
Yeah.
He's like picking up his toy. It was really weird. And now
Yeah.
I don't want to be there alone. So,
No. I don't blame you. Is that
yeah.
the one that Noah was like, okay, that was actually really
Yeah,
weird?
we
Okay.
couldn't explain what that was. That was really,
Yeah.
really, really, really weird.
So you think it wasn't just Binks meowing crazy, or
I've
there was something else?
never there was something else. Like I've never heard him sound like that. Like
Yeah.
it didn't even sound like a sound he could make. Like it
Right.
sounded like hearing something, like hearing a cat meow like over the TV or the radio as it's
Mhm.
glitching with static. Like
Yeah.
that's what it sounded like. It sounded like static.
Mhm.
And
Ew.
oh, it like gives me like goosebumps thinking about it because I was thinking like, oh my God, like what if something like is hurting him? But then he
Yeah.
came like patting in like a few minutes later with his kill and
Chill.
was like,
Mhm.
meow, like
Yeah.
normal. But I was like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Ooh.
don't possess my cat, bitch.
Please.
Don't possess
Yeah.
my cat.
Oh no. That's so how old is his apartment? Is this an old building?
It is older, but I don't think it's like crazy. Let me see if I can see right now. I'm not going to say
Share
his
the
address.
address.
Dox him. Um, built year. Let's see. 1987. It's not even that
Okay.
old. And I
Mhm.
looked to see if there were any deaths, but there have been deaths in the building, but they don't specify the suite. So
Okay.
it's like it could be
Could
his.
be.
I don't know.
Mhm. Yeah.
I will say I don't get the sense that it's a malevolent spirit.
Right.
I don't get
Which
that
is
vibe.
great news.
Great. But it's not great to feel like there's something else present there. That's
Yeah.
what I don't like. That
No.
really gives me the wig. And
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't like the idea of it interfering with B. Like, I'm just like,
No.
don't fuck with my cat, please.
Yeah.
Like, leave him out of it.
Yeah.
I don't
Sweet
know.
boy. Mm.
Yeah. My working hypothesis, I say working as if I have a way to prove it. My working hypothesis
Uh-huh.
is that it's someone who died in the building who
Mhm.
Binks was initially afraid of when he first came, hence the hiding.
Mhm.
And then as he was exposed to it more,
Mhm.
felt like he could act like normal. And then maybe that person had a cat in their lifetime and,
Yeah.
liked cats. And so was kind
Right.
of playing with him a little bit.
Mhm.
But at least I
Yeah.
hope.
Yeah.
But I don't
I
know.
like that theory.
Yeah.
Let's stick
Better
with
than the
that.
alternative theories.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Anywho, over to you.
Okay. Wow. I mean, it's scary, but also kind of always exciting when we have our own stories to share.
I know, for sure.
So,
For
yeah.
sure.
I was gonna say just stay at your house, but maybe you should keep going over there, see what happens.
I know, see what happens. I know, but that scares me. Like the thought of something like big happening, like significant, like scares the shit out of me. And like
Yeah.
choosing to walk into it. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah, we're dedicated to our
Thankfully,
craft, but not that
exactly.
dedicated.
Not that dedicated. I'm
Uh-huh.
not trying to die at the hand of
Yeah.
demons.
No.
Um, or encounter demons at all for that matter.
Mhm. Yeah.
I will say everything has happened when Noah has been there though. Nothing's happened when I've been alone. I've been creeped out when I've been
Mhm.
alone, but nothing's
Right.
happened. So, knock on wood, hopefully it stays like
Yeah.
that. Ooh,
Ooh, scary.
ooh,
Oh man, well
scary.
yeah, keep us posted.
I will. Of always, always,
Yes,
always.
please. Okay, so yeah, like Olivia said, we are doing general spooky stories today.
Yeah.
So, of course, we go to Reddit for those.
Oh
And
yeah.
this is from that one familiar plate is the username.
Cute.
So there's two that go together and they're very short. So several years ago, I had a recurring dream about burning alive in a hotel. It
Oh.
was so realistic, I could feel the pain and hear the screams. Each dream would be more and more detailed than my last dream, and I could make out the exact details of the building. When we went on vacation, we stopped in a small city and looked for a hotel, and we stopped at the exact hotel that I had been seeing in my dream.
No.
I just froze and repeatedly asked if we could go to a different hotel. After,
Can we not say
can we
your
please? Yeah, and they say after pestering my parents about it, we went somewhere else. But if
Hmm.
I were this person's parent, I would be like, we're out of here
Yeah,
instantly.
100%.
And then get this, it burned down the night we were supposed to stay there and killed 14 people.
Oh, I just had
So,
got chills all over my legs.
yeah, same.
What?
And yeah, of course, there were people in the comments being like, okay, that's fake. But then one commenter posted a link to a New York Times story with
Oh,
the headline Hotel Fire Leaves 14 Dead. So they were maybe implying that either they believed
yeah.
it or they like used this as inspiration, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But still, pretty
Yeah.
good story.
I wouldn't even have thought to like build a story around like a news story. I
No,
don't know. I mean, that's so like uncreative of me, but I
right.
never would read something and be like, I'm going to pretend like this happened. Mainly because of karma. I think like if
Right.
you pretend that you
Hmm.
dodged a tragedy like that
Yeah,
actually impacted people, took people's lives,
right. It's
bad
uh-huh,
juju.
very bad.
Bad juju.
I agree.
Nobody wants that bad juju.
No, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that. Or
Mm-mm.
maybe it's
No.
like, well, yeah, exactly what you said.
Do you ever lie to get out of something and you think like, "Oh, I could say this." And then you're like, "I
Ooh.
don't think I want to say that." Like,
Hmm.
"Oh, sorry, I'm not feeling well." That's the one
Right.
I don't like using unless I'm really
Hmm.
not feeling well because I'm like, I feel like I'm willing myself to get sick.
Right. It's inviting it to happen.
Or like there's a
Hmm.
family emergency.
Hmm.
I
I will
don't
never
ever
use
use
that
that.
one.
I
No.
never use that.
Mm-mm.
Or someone
Yeah.
else is sick, I never use that. I mean, I
Hmm.
try not to lie. I generally try to be honest.
Yeah.
It's like something where it's just a little easier to just lie than
Hmm.
to tell the truth with like
Yeah.
people who aren't your inner circle or whatever. It's
Hmm.
like, "Oh, sorry, can I have plans that night?" That's
Yeah.
usually what I end up saying, but I'm like,
Right. Hmm. Yeah, that's
"Sorry,
probably good
tangent."
practice not to do those things.
Yeah.
Um, okay, then the one that sort of goes with this is one person commented on this story saying, I have seen posts like this before in the paranormal threads on Ask Reddit. One girl posted that she dreamed over and over as a kid about some guy drowning her. They were on a boat and he pushed her
Oh.
down and held her underwater. Eventually, she met the guy from her dream in high school and he invites her on a boat ride at his family's property. She said no and her
Oh.
dream stopped. So that also gives me chills. And I tried to
That gives
find that
you chills.
original story, but I couldn't
Yeah.
find it. So,
Doesn't that make you wonder too, who's looking out for you? Or is it just by chance? Like it's just like a glitch
right.
in the matrix and you just got a preview of the next thing, where
Yeah,
then you get to change the story.
right. Ooh, it's scary.
It
And are
is
certain
scary.
people, because obviously some people are willing to believe in
Yeah.
paranormal, and some people aren't. So do
Yeah.
other people get these signals and just ignore them? Or I don't know. It's just interesting to
I
think
don't
about.
know. Yeah, it's super interesting. That's super interesting.
Yeah. But those are the first two. Do you want to tell some or should I just
Yes.
keep going?
Yeah, no, that's a good
Okay.
idea. We can go back and
Perfect.
forth.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll tell, yeah, a couple like quick ones. So one, these first few are from TikTok. So this is from, okay, so a couple of the sources that I've been using are like aggregate. So they're sent by other users who want to
Mhm.
remain anonymous, and then they like, this one is called Gateway to Hell House. So they
Okay.
dramatize some of them like with visuals and stuff, not dramatize the
Mhm.
story, but like create visuals and stuff. This
Right.
one's not. This one's actual video footage, but just so you know, like some of it is,
Yeah.
they're not the original source.
Okay.
So someone posted ring camera footage of their
Ugh,
yard.
I hate those videos. They scare me so bad.
It scared me really bad. I was
Mhm.
looking at it this morning again because I had written it down as like a note that I wanted to share in this
Yeah.
episode, and I was like, it's like broad daylight, and I'm fucking freaked
Yeah.
out, man. So it's like this creepy little gravelly voice. Like you can't see anything. So it's like a porch and then a bigger yard. And then it looks like maybe there was like a play set or maybe some like toys. I don't remember exactly, like kind of in the distance to the right. And then in that same sort of plane, there was like a shed. So maybe like
Mhm.
30 feet from the house, 30 to 20 to 50 feet, somewhere in
Okay.
there.
Yeah.
Kind of hard to tell,
Mhm.
but the shed's away from the house like quite a bit. So you're seeing the porch, like the edge of the porch, like onto the steps, and then you're not seeing anything, but there's this like little voice saying, "Let me in." And then
Ew.
it like there's like scratching, like hard scratching on the door,
Mhm.
and then like frantic, like irregular knocking. And then
Yeah.
they clearly like zoom in on the ring, like in the distance towards like the shed.
Mhm.
But what's weird is that it's like it doesn't look like, of course this could be staged, like I have no way of checking that, but the way
Right.
that the video looks, there would have had to been at least two people in on it,
Mhm.
because in the like the ring camera like zooms in, and you know how it kind of like goes in stages as if they're hitting like 5%, 10%
Mhm.
or whatever, and it zooms in, but there's no like cut in the video. So it's like they're zooming in because they know what's coming next and they want to be able to show
Mm.
it.
Yeah.
It's like that's "let me in," like stops abruptly, and then it's like already zooming in, and then there's this like, oh, creepy looking like person. It looks like human ish, but
Mhm.
all black. You can't see any details, no face, nothing.
Mm.
And actually, it looks almost like they've got like some sort of like ponytail thing, like something, or maybe a hood with hair under it or
Mm.
something, like kind of sticking
Yeah.
up. And it's making these like weird erratic movements, like really creepy, really weird. And then it kind of goes out of frame and then the whole thing like stops. But I
Whoa.
was just like, what the fuck did I just watch?
Right.
What was that? So absolutely could be made up, for
Mhm.
staged, framed, staged, but still creepy as shit.
Yeah.
And then the second one I'll share for now is also from TikTok, a woman named Heather Redden. And I want to go
Mhm.
back and like watch way more of hers, but I figured I'd just start with this one so it wasn't like a Heather episode from me.
Yeah.
She lives in the Appalachian Mountains, and her house is surrounded by these like beautiful woods. She kind of like shows out the window, and she says it's for miles, like surrounded for miles by these woods. And she says from the beginning, like, there are always these creepy stories coming out of the Appalachians, and like, I'll admit, I hear weird crap coming out of the woods, but like, I don't know, like, does it creep me out that maybe there are skinwalkers? Fucking yeah, but also mountain lions make a sound like a woman screaming. So like, I
Mhm.
don't know.
Right.
So she is like, however, I want to share this story. And she's like, this just happened recently. And she's like, this is actually probably the least creepy story or experience that I've had,
Okay.
which is saying something because this is fucking
Mhm.
terrifying.
Yeah.
Um, but she was like, I'm home alone right now and I don't want to talk about anything too scary. So I was like, I'm going to go back to her page later.
Yeah.
Um, but so here's the gist. So she's hearing weird noises one day, and she's like walking around her house, like trying to find where it's coming from. And she realizes that someone left the door to the basement open, and the noise is coming from down there. And I guess you know
Mm.
how some houses, like the basement is only like half a basement because of like it's on a hill. So it
Yeah.
sounds like the layout is, because she says there's a door from the basement directly to the woods. And
Okay.
anyway, so she's like, that immediately is like creepy. But she
Mhm.
was like, she goes to the top of the stairs and she yelled down thinking that it was her husband at the time, no longer her husband, I guess. But
Mhm.
she said it was really dark down there. And so she yelled, "Hey, is that you?" And he said, "Yeah, come on down." Like, she's like assuming he's like working on something. She
Mhm.
starts walking down. She's like halfway down the stairs and she thinks like, something's off here. Like, why would he be down there in the dark? That's just really
Mm.
weird.
Yeah.
And so she stops halfway down the steps. And at this point, her daughter comes up to the top of the stairs behind her and is like, "Mom, what are you doing?" And she's like, she explains, she's like, I'm going down to check on your dad. Like, he's working on something down there. And the daughter's like, "Mom, he's been gone for an hour. He's not here." And she was like,
Mm.
"Oh." So like immediately
Mm.
walks back upstairs, closes the door, goes to check the driveway, like maybe my daughter's like fucking with me.
Mhm.
Checks the driveway, his car's not there. But she is says with like 100% certainty that was his voice. And it was
Wow.
like 20 feet from her, like down the steps.
Oh God.
So she's like convinced that it was something from the woods now. And
Mhm.
is like, what the fuck would have happened if I'd gone down there?
Right.
Like, what did it
Oh.
want? Like, whatever this thing was. I mean, that to me sounds like a skinwalker since they can
Mm-hmm.
mimic
Mimic,
people's
yeah.
voices. So
Oh,
anyway,
that's scary.
those are my first two. Your turn.
Wow. How do you keep living with
I
that
know. And
knowledge?
in that house and with your kids there?
Right.
Nope.
Yeah, and if that's not the scariest one that has happened, I can't wait to hear what
Yeah,
else.
I know. I'm gonna come back to her. Don't worry.
Okay, looking forward to it. Okay, so my next one, I'm still on the dream theme a little bit.
Hmm.
So this is from another Reddit user. They're named LP Mid 85, and they called the
Mid.
story House with an Evil Spirit.
Oh, yikes.
Spooky. Okay.
Oh, spooky.
So when I was 10, we had just moved into the nicest house we had had to that day. It was big, huge, sunken living room, bonus room off of the kitchen, great backyard, etc. Just showing off. My
Mm.
parents rushed on buying it because it was such a good deal. Just a few days in, I saw a shadow figure that was about 3 feet tall, and it had a top hat of sorts. No.
No. Not Hat Man.
No.
Oh, come on, man. I just got full. Ugh. I didn't just get
Sorry.
full body chills. I just got full body, like, yikes. Like,
Yeah,
just like, ugh.
like the ick. Yeah.
Scary. The ick. The
Yeah.
spooky ick.
Uh-huh. But Hatman usually is really tall, right? This little thing is 3 feet tall. So maybe
Yeah, I
it's
guess
his
that's
son, which is also a scary
Hot
thought.
Boy. Hot Boy.
Yeah, Hat Boy Jr.
Hot Boy
Um,
Junior. That's funny.
so, okay, 3 feet tall. I'd catch it from the corner of my eye often, but especially near my brother's room. It seemed
Ugh.
like it was always standing in the doorway and would be quick to get out of sight. Pictures on the wall would lean more and more throughout the day, and I often heard doors creaking and footprints, but more like a galloping cadence coming from the attic.
Oh, not the galloping.
I know, or like
A weird gait.
scurrying. Yeah,
Yeah, a weird gait is never good.
no,
Never, never,
it's
never good.
truly
No, no,
not. So one night, my dad and I were watching TV. He was channel surfing and stopped on some show where people talked about their paranormal experiences. I don't remember the show, but I wish I did.
Yeah, me too. I
Anyway,
want to
yeah,
watch
I
it.
know, same. Anyway, the person being interviewed mentioned the shadow person she was seeing, and it was exactly what I had been experiencing. Up until then, I didn't tell anyone because I didn't want to scare my younger siblings, and my parents were excited about the new house.
Mhm.
I started to get really scared listening to it, so I told my dad about all that I saw. He asked me where I saw it and other details, and I'll never forget how white he turned when he realized we
No.
both were seeing and hearing the same thing.
Oh my god, I'm like covered in goosebumps.
I know. He told me that he saw it every day since we moved in, and he also always saw it near my brother's room. So, that night, I woke up in a panic from a dream, although it seemed more like a vision, about the spirit hurting my brother, and not a
No.
typical nightmare. I ran into my parents' room where my dad was already sitting up straight in his bed, breathing fast. I told him about the dream, they put it in quotes, and before I could finish, he said, "Was it hurting Peter?" And I said yes, but I wasn't sure because the shadow man just seemed to be next to the bed, watching as my brother was being tended to by nurses. My dad had had the exact same dream. The following night, my mom was tucking us in, and I heard her panic as my brother was burning up, fever of 105, and was really weak and out of it. He got taken by ambulance to the hospital, and we were told he had pneumonia. He was sick for 2 weeks. We only went back to the house during the day to get our things. We moved in with my aunt temporarily and listed the house for sale. um,
Oh my god, they were like, we're fucking out of here.
yeah, so they had the good sense, and now it
Ugh.
makes sense why the house was a good deal if
Yeah.
people were rushing out of there. But
Ew.
yeah, sounds like her brother was fine, but still very scary.
So scary. What the flock?
What the fuck
Oh,
is right?
God.
Yeah.
I hate
Mhm.
that. Um,
Your turn.
okay. This is from Similar Thing, Ghost Stories World.
Okay.
But this is a story that came from a landscaper, like a guy who owns a landscaping business in Surrey, England.
Okay.
Um, so it's a story of a house in a village called Hoath, which is near Canterbury, I guess, in Surrey. So this was from 2014. So this guy's landscaping company was hired to basically remodel like an old barn style house
Mhm.
before the new owners were moving in. So the first step was to visit the property to make an estimate. There's a ton of land, like lots of garden, but it's all like janky.
Yeah.
Just like very
Right.
like
Right.
not tended to, like broken fences. So like they need to clear everything. It's a lot of territory, whatever.
Mhm.
He felt really creeped out like while he was there on the property. And I don't think he was alone. I think he brought his like crew.
Mhm.
He's doing this estimate and he's like, it's weird because I felt watched, but usually you'd be like, oh, it's neighbors or something watching me,
Right.
but there aren't neighbors for like a while because it's the
Mhm.
country. It's out on this like kind of marshland.
Right.
So he was like, that's weird, but whatever. So the project is estimated. They get the job, and it would take about 5 days. But because it's kind of out in the middle of the no out in the middle of nowhere,
Mhm.
they all decided to basically like live on the property for the time that it took to do the job.
Mm.
And so were the builders. There were also inside builders doing work
Okay.
on the actual house itself. So there's a crew of builders already living there. They were going to be there for like 2 weeks and they started before them. So like the builders came and then like halfway through that work, then the landscapers came too.
Mhm.
So when they first got there, the guys like small talk, like, oh, how's the job been? Like, what do you think of the place? Like, what's the inside like? And they're like showing him around and stuff. And they're like, yeah, I mean, it's lovely, but it's fucking haunted. And he's like, oh, okay. Like,
Okay.
haha.
Uh-huh.
They're like, no, seriously, it's like haunted. And he's like, why would you think that? And they were like, well, we've been sleeping here, and especially at night, we hear all this like banging and like things are being thrown around or like someone's
Mhm.
like banging on the walls like in empty bedrooms. And like we've checked because of course they're concerned with like squatters or something like that. So they're
Right.
like, there's nothing there. And
Mhm.
then they started hearing like whispering. And then in the morning, their tools would all have been moved around and stuff. And I think at first it sounded like the landscapers were like, okay, like you guys are just playing pranks on each other, like
Mhm.
whatever. It's not a big deal. But
Yeah.
then one was like, well, I got a call from a number in the middle of the night when we were hearing all this banging and it woke us all up. And I get a call from this number that's like 00000000000, all
Mhm.
zeros. And it's like, God, he picks it up and it's like someone's like garbled
Yeah.
voice, like trying to say something and he couldn't understand it. And then he was fucking creeped out. So he just hung
Mhm.
up. And he had the call log with the zeros. So he was like, look, like I'm not like fucking making it up. Like I don't
Right.
know if it's related, but it's weird. And
Mhm.
he was like, okay, fair. He's like, not really convinced, but whatever. So he says day one was pretty uneventful, aside from the builders, telling them all this stuff and also just saying like, especially the back garden really creeped them out.
Hmm.
So he's like, okay, day one's relatively uneventful. Day two, the morning was quiet, but then in the afternoon, the builder went in for a coffee and he heard this like knocking sound in one of the rooms. So he goes and looks, it's empty. So he goes back out to the kitchen. And then he hears the sound that he describes as like a poster falling off of a wall. And you know that scraping
Yeah.
paper sound?
Yep.
That sound. And he said it was coming from the hallway. So he whips his head around to look down the hallway to see who's there. And
Mhm.
he sees this like shadow, like bolt from the hallway toward him through the kitchen out the front door. And he's
Oh.
like, what the fuck? And
Yeah.
he's alone in the house.
Mm.
And he was trying to figure out like what the fuck could that have been? Because it's the afternoon, it's still bright outside.
Mhm.
Because like the only thing that could have made that shadow inside was like the light in the kitchen, but there was
Mhm.
nothing to create a shadow. There was nothing over the light or covering the light or anything. So he was like,
Right.
that's really, really weird.
Mm-hmm.
So fast forward to day 3. And of course, they're all sharing these stories, right? So they're starting to get like, they're building anxiety in this
Right.
house.
Mm-hmm.
So day 3, Paul, who's the name of the like main builder,
Yeah.
he was arguing with someone on the phone when the landscaper comes into the house. When he hung up, he's like, "What's going on?" He was like, "Well, this this skip driver refused to come to the house to drop this thing off unless someone's going to be there to meet him."
Hmm.
And he was like, "That's weird. Why?" And he was like, "Well, he said he saw something here when he did a drop off last time, and now he doesn't want to come if we're all going to be out. So now we have to schedule our whole day around when he comes, and he doesn't know, of course, when he's going to come." So the builder's super
Mm-hmm.
frustrated, and the landscaper's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! He saw something? Like, what does that mean?"
Yeah.
He explains that when I guess when the skip driver arrived last time, he knew the house was empty, but then saw something moving around in the window.
Mm-hmm.
And when he looked up, the cab of his like truck or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
the radio goes on full blast playing static, like
Oh
full
no.
volume. Out of
Mm-hmm.
nowhere. Like he wasn't listening to music before, it just turns on. And he was like, nope. So
No.
he
Mm-hmm.
so this happens on day 3. Day 4 was pretty quiet except for a lot of knocking and banging, getting a lot louder. And at this point, everyone is like, nerves are fried. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, if someone's fucking around,
Mm-hmm.
cut it out. Like, we're
Yeah.
done with this. You're
Mm-hmm.
freaking everyone out. You're ruining this job. Like, stop.
Yeah.
So it becomes very clear, like, no one's messing around. Like, everyone's freaked out. They don't know what's going on.
Right.
So one of them was doing work in one of those rooms where a lot of the banging comes from, and he said he was really creeped out when he finally came out because he kept hearing someone like walking around the room that he was in, but there was
Mm.
no one there with him.
Yeah.
So the last thing that happened on the last day, day 5, was someone came to do like light fitting.
Yeah.
And same thing, when he pulled up, his truck radio goes on full blast with nothing but static.
Oh God.
And yeah. And I guess when he came in, the guys were like, "So, like, what do you think of the place?" Because like at this point it's almost done. They're putting lights in and stuff. And he's like, "I mean, it's beautiful, but I've worked out here before and it's not nice at night." And they were like, "What do you
Oh.
mean?" And they were like, "There's something not right here. Like there's something not
Mm-hmm.
right." So super creepy, but get this, the landscapers get hired down the line by the owners to do like little projects here and there because they've already done the whole backyard. They're like,
Yeah.
"Hey, can you come and build a retaining wall or whatever?" So they come back a few times to do smaller things in the garden. And for one bigger job, the main guy goes in. He doesn't ever say his name, but he goes in, he's talking to the owners in the kitchen. They like make him a cup of coffee,
Mm-hmm.
or probably a tea. It's the
Yeah.
UK. And the 3 of them, so there are kids in the house too, but the mom, the dad, and the guy are in the kitchen, and the kids are in the room next door, like watching TV. And they hear a sound from the other side of the house where all that banging used to happen that he describes as it sounds like someone like grabbed a dresser and like pushed it over, like huge bang, like rattling the floor, super loud. And
Mm-hmm.
he kind of like looks up at the owners, and they're like, "Please just ignore it. We don't want to scare the kids." And this guy is like, "I'm fucking out of here. Like, you people are
Yeah.
crazy." So,
Wow. And they're
yeah.
still putting all that money into getting work done after
I mean, they
all of
seem
that.
pretty fucking committed.
Wow.
Yeah.
They're
Pretty
crazy.
committed. I know. It's so
Wow.
crazy.
Oh boy,
Your
that's
turn.
scary. Okay.
I know. Very scary.
Um okay, let's see. I just have 2 more and they're kind of related, so this is going to be my
Yeah.
longest section.
Beautiful.
And it works out kind of well because with the radio story from your
Oh, yeah.
last one, this is about a
Ugh.
TV.
Oh, my God.
So,
Scary.
um,
The ring.
yeah, this is also Reddit, of course, and the username is Relevant Mode 3191. So, they say, "Hi all. I just want to preface with this. I swear to you that everything I'm about to tell you is real, at least to how I perceived it. but I'm a pragmatic person and genuinely want to debunk this. I'm asking for anyone's help who is a show or movie buff to please suggest if there's a show or movie that exists similar to what I'm explaining so that I know what I experienced wasn't supernatural. Not really sure what that logic is, but
Yeah.
anyway.
Good luck.
Yeah, so this occurred around 2008. My brothers and I were watching Scary Movie 4 up until late hours of the night on Comedy Central until I eventually fell asleep. I woke up to a show where a man was sprinting through what appeared to be some sort of concrete shelter. I couldn't see most of his surroundings because it was pitch black. All I could see was where his flashlight was shining. I remember the man screaming, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god." He eventually found himself in a four-way junction, or maybe a larger room, it's hard to remember. I do remember shadows swiftly moving around the guy and eventually surrounding him. Then I
Mhm.
heard something I'll never forget, a loud, high pitched cackle. It felt like my
Oh,
TV went from normal volume to its maximum volume immediately. In my bed, I tried to move or leave the room, but was completely paralyzed. I looked around and saw shadows darting across the lower half of the
oh,
walls by the TV in the corner of the room. Fortunately, I was able to pull the sheets over my head as the cackling continued. After what felt like an eternity, I gained the courage to crawl out of the corner of my bed, hitting the ground. I then crawled to the door where I saw my dad with a Bible in his hand, coincidentally.
oh.
I immediately regained my strength and was able to finally sprint out of the room into our kitchen. Crying, I told my dad that I thought my older brother was pranking me, which made my dad very angry. However,
Mhm.
as he went into the room to turn on the light, I saw him pause. In my life, even now 10 years later, I've never seen my dad frightened except for this moment. He just stopped. Out of curiosity, I peeked from behind my dad and saw that the TV had the show Family Matters on, with a family hugging each other,
What?
which is bizarre. So clearly it changed
Yeah.
channels. It wasn't until years later that my dad told me his side of the story. He was
Oh, yeah.
reading the Bible in the middle of the night since he couldn't sleep. He heard a TV getting very loud, so he decided to come and turn it off. When he entered the room, he saw two cops in a cop car on the TV. One of the cops had no skin, just raw muscle. That cop had a giant grin on his face, turning over to smile at my dad until he saw the Bible in his hand. The cop seemed to immediately become terrified, and then the channel changed to what the kid saw with the Family Matters image.
What?
um, yeah, and they just close it out.
Oh,
It's so scary. This is all I can remember from that moment, but it really bothers me that I cannot find or I cannot prove that this was some weird supernatural event. So,
I hate that. I hate that so much.
yeah. Oh, I see what they're asking now. Okay, they were wanting to see if a show had these
Oh,
images on it that
yeah.
could
I
explain.
see. I
Okay,
see.
that makes sense. Okay.
But that's so non sequitur. Like, there's
Yeah,
no way that it would be the cops and this other
Family
thing. Like,
Matters.
my
Yeah,
feeling is like, well, maybe the boy dreamed the cackling, but then what the dad saw was real,
right.
actually on the TV real.
Hmm.
Oh
It could
god.
be anything, any combination of those. It's just really weird.
Mm.
Yeah.
Also, I don't
Um,
want to see exposed underskin of anyone. Like, I
no,
don't want to see raw muscle. That's gross.
no, definitely not. And especially when it changed as soon as it saw the Bible. Like, that's kind of a
Yeah,
weird coincidence, but
very weird.
good
Very weird
story
coincidence. Yeah,
regardless.
absolutely.
But yeah, my last thing is actually a news story, and this is
Oh,
most likely not ghosty, but it just creeped me out, so I wanted to share it anyway.
yeah, sure.
And it's on the theme of like haunted technology.
Oh,
So,
okay.
um, this was from ABC News. It's a story by Brittany Bacon and Scott Michaels, and it was in June 2007. So this is old.
Oh, okay.
Um, it goes, who do you call when your personal cell phone has been turned into a spying device, tracking your family's every move and giving an anonymous stalker a view into your private life?
Oh,
Three
God.
Washington state families say it happened to them and left them feeling like they were living in a horror movie. So they say you're going to die. We hate you. We're going to murder you, said Heather Kuykendall, I think, one of the
It's a
victims.
dangerous last name
I
to
know.
have.
We're going to call her Heather K from now on.
Okay.
And the families say no one seems to have an answer as to how or why it's happening. The families say the calls come in at all hours of the night, threatening to kill their children, their pets, their grandparents. Voicemails arrive playing recordings of their private conversations, including one with a local police detective when they reported these incidents.
What the fuck?
Yeah,
That's scary, dude.
yeah. Regardless of what this is, it's really scary. So, let's see. The caller knows the families said what they're wearing and what they're doing.
Oh, that
And
gave me such
I
chills. That's so
know.
scary.
Let's see. Some of the things that happened, they gave a specific one. Um, oh, yeah. Like one incident was that somebody was slicing limes in the kitchen and a call came in from this weird number and the
Yeah.
voice said it preferred lemons, which just makes me feel ill.
Oh, spooky ick.
Yeah,
Spooky ick, dude.
exactly. And so there's a lot more to this story that they just talk about, like how
Yeah.
this could be a hacker, how
Yeah.
whatever. But at the time, this is 2007.
Yeah.
So
Cell phones are like newer.
right, the first iPhone came out in 2007. So maybe
Yeah.
this family is like the first smartphone users.
Yeah.
But because, yeah, my initial thought was like at that time, I had one of those phones that slides up and the camera
Yeah.
was so bad.
Yeah.
Like, there's no
Yeah.
way you could distinguish between
No.
a lemon and a lime
No.
on that
Absolutely
camera.
not. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Unless they had hacked, like tapped their phone line and then were stalking them from outside the house. That sounds supernatural to me. That sounds paranormal to me.
I kind of agree. And I am trying to find like a key part of this that maybe I just forgot to copy over. But
Also, why them? Like,
right, I know. It seems very random.
yeah,
And yeah, the reason that I picked this also was, and I can't believe I didn't copy it over, but the calls were coming from their own numbers.
no,
So
the call's coming from inside
that's
the house. The call's coming
exactly,
from inside the house.
that's why
No,
I picked it. The call is coming from inside the house. So
I am covered in goose pimples now.
yeah, sorry.
Oh, you
Yeah,
picked good ones. Fuck, that's scary.
yeah,
Oh, that's
I
so
know.
scary.
So, I mean,
Oh,
nowadays, I can totally see how a
of
hacker could do
course.
that. But,
Absolutely. Just from your phone from a distance. I mean,
right.
sure.
Hmm.
But
Yeah. Too bizarre. I don't know.
way too bizarre.
Yeah.
Oof. All right. Well, I've got some decidedly paranormal ones
Okay. Let's do it.
from Reddit.
Love it.
Okay, this one is called Coworker Brought a Ghost to Work, and this is from Mama Tater 11.
Hmm.
And there's an image that goes along with it. So
Hmm.
we will be sharing it.
Okay.
So Mama Tater says, my coworker is very spiritual and sages her house often, as well as other minor practices such as wearing charms to ward off spirits, etc.
Yeah.
So today, she said she felt a presence at work that she may have accidentally brought from home after saging.
Okay.
A little while later, one of the printers starts going off without anyone printing anything, and it prints 6 to 7 pages of gibberish,
Hmm.
and the last two words say help. So it says
Oh
help,
no.
help. Yeah.
No.
I should also mention, she tells me after lunch that her charm necklace broke off in the bathroom after having it for less than a month.
Oh,
This is right
okay.
before this goes
Yeah.
off. She says, we work in a blood bank, and the printer is not a fax machine or a typical printer. You can't manipulate it or print anything on it but transfusion slips. So it's not
Okay.
like your HP
Standard.
LaserJet
Yeah.
or a fax where
Mm-hmm.
someone could just print something weird, maybe on
Right.
accident or on purpose. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, and you can see in the kind of paper it is in the print, like the font, it looks
Right.
like a telegram
Mm-hmm.
almost.
Oof.
So she says, I swear she better have taken that thing back with her or there will be hands, which I just love. But creepy little thing. And then someone was like, sounds like someone, the username is asbestos, not asbestos,
Love it.
asbestos.
Okay.
Says, sounds like the ghost is malfunctioning and thus prints the help code. It's like, that's so
Wow.
that's my second to last one. And then my
Okay.
last one is from Top Cantaloupe 6354.
Wonderful
Which I
name.
love Top Cantaloupe.
Mm-hmm.
This is, the title is Live in a 2-bedroom condo alone, hearing loud noises in the unused bedroom. So they say, hi, don't really know what to say other than what the fuck. This is insane. I've heard the closet door being opened, a loud thump, and then another loud series of thumps, as if somebody was jumping or stomping really hard on the ground, or as if something huge fell onto the ground. I'm currently in my bedroom next to it. It shares a wall, and I have no idea what to do, and I'm really, really scared. I know for certain I am home alone, in all caps.
Mm-hmm.
They're in a condo, right? So it's not like you're in a house secluded in the woods
Right.
or whatever where someone could have come in. Like it
Mm-hmm.
would be hard for someone to get in.
Right.
So there are a bunch of follow-ups and people are like asking all these questions like, are you sure there's no crawl space? So he's like, hey, there's no crawl space in either my closet nor the guest bedroom closet. I live in a really old apartment building that's only 2 stories high and I'm on the top story, the second story. My friend who used to live with me said he used to hear loud noises in that room specifically at night. And when purchasing the condo, the seller mentioned a death of the previous owner who was known to be a really kind old man who enjoyed feeding the squirrels on the premises. Doesn't seem very friendly to me, whatever this thing is, as there have been multiple loud bangs in the bedroom tonight, one sounding like a huge dresser was thrown across the room.
Wow.
The door was closed shut and the closet doors were also hit or opened. I couldn't exactly tell if they were just hit or opened. I'm trying to fall asleep, but we'll investigate once the sun is up because I'm fucking scared. So then they post. So some of these, I just pulled out all of the original posters, like comments, because some are updates and then some are like replies to other people, like, well, what if it's this? What if it's this? So one update, they say, I called the cops. They investigated to find absolutely nobody in the room or in the rest of my unit. Paranormal activity seems to be confirmed, and I'm fucking scared. And then they say, all right, guys. Oh, no. Oh, I just exit out of my page. Come back.
Oh, no.
Oh, here we go. Sorry. I'm navigating back. Okay. They say, all right, guys, here's another update. So I woke up this morning to take a shower and get ready for work. The cops investigated last night to find nothing in the guest bedroom. Mind you, they swept the entire apartment, every single nook and cranny, and nobody was inside the apartment except me. I explained to them that there were multiple loud noises coming from the guest bedroom, some of which sounded honestly like violent or aggressive, maybe, to which they said they understood, that they believed me, but if there's nobody here, there's nothing they can do about it. Pause. Weird to me that the cops are like, we believe you, as if maybe someone else called them before about it.
Oh,
I don't know.
yeah.
Seems a little weird. Since
Good
when
point.
are cops? I mean, no offense to any cops
Yeah.
listening, but like, since when are cops like, I believe you, hearing sounds?
Yeah.
Like, even if he was like schizophrenic or something, I feel like the cops would be like, what do you want?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Antics.
Yeah. I
But
agree.
maybe I'm just a little biased, but
Yeah.
whatever.
Cynical.
So yeah, cynical, exactly. So I said thanks. I told them their search made me feel a lot safer, when in reality I feel like I'm being haunted by the man who used to live in my apartment. I don't know what I'm doing to piss him off though. I keep it super clean. I never have parties or guests over. I'm pretty much a lone wolf. fucking wish I was trolling. I wish this was fake because I do not like being alone in this apartment that I now own. The
Oh no.
presence of something. I'll try to capture evidence, but I'm lazy. I'll consider ordering a cheap night vision camera to install in the guest bedroom. He says that because people are like, install cameras, install cameras. And he's like, I'm cheap and lazy.
Come
I don't want to
on.
do that.
Yeah.
So he included that note here. He
Mm-hmm.
goes, however, I'm now really wanting to avoid that bedroom. It's like
Yeah.
super bad energy seems to hit me when I enter it. Anyway, I'm off to work. Thanks for all the interest, you guys. I'll continue to update if anything else continues to happen. And then other people were like, well, who else lived there? Like, were there other owners? Like, he seems like a nice guy, or like, that's what you heard from the neighbors. Could it have been someone else? And he's like, apparently there was only one previous owner. It's an old building, but he must have moved in young and then he died there.
Yeah.
Said he was an older gentleman, no other owners beside him, and then my family after he sold it and passed away. Or his family sold it when he passed away. That would be freaky, though. Who knows? There's a lot of old creepy ladies that live in this apartment complex. This is weird.
Okay.
This is like horror movie shit.
Yeah.
One of them screamed at me one time saying that I don't belong here when I was driving my car out of the complex. I rolled my window down to explain to her that I actually live here, thinking she thought I was, you know, an intruder or something in this old man's place. But I said, no, I actually live here. I own the apartment. I do belong here. And she really wasn't having it. He was like, it was a very weird encounter.
Very. Oh, scary. Do the old ladies know something?
I don't know,
What
man.
do they know?
I don't know. And I actually do have a couple more stories from one of our listeners, Tony B. So I don't know Tony's actual last name, but we're gonna call him Tony B.
Okay.
And I wouldn't share it even if I did, because doxing, you know? Anyway, so he, however, wanted us to share that he is starting up his own field investigation company for paranormal things. So the company is called Dimension Dark Paranormal. And he said the website and social media is coming soon. So if you're interested, search. So there's a few different stories. I'm going to tell 3 of them. A couple are really quick, and then there's a slightly longer one. So
perfect.
He says this started around age 4. And at the time I can't tell if he was either living on or just visiting Apache territory. So he says the true origin story of his people, basically that shamans within this like indigenous group tried to overthrow the gods, and the gods were like, nah. And blam, crater roughly the size of a football field hit the land, and these 12 stone pillars standing in a perfect circle kind of like, I don't know, rose from that crash. So he was 4 visiting this place with these 12 stone pillars, and he thought it was a playground. So he ran in, and when he finally made it to one of the pillars, he slowly looked up at it, but instead of a pillar, it was a figure that was like contorted in agony, like looking down at him with this like pained look, and it cried an Apache tear. So he ran the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
So kind of traumatized, he like goes to his mom. He's like, what just happened? Because she was there for the whole thing. So he said his mom sat him down, told her this like ancient story, and he said he remembered looking around, and he said this was in Pine Top, which I don't know exactly where that is, but in the winter time. So, you know, there was like snow and all of that. But he said when he looked around, there was no snow, there was no leaves. He said, I just remember seeing ash, like just ash everywhere. So he was having like a vision, essentially, which is so crazy because he was really little.
Yeah. Wow.
So then, he recalls the same year he ran out into the water at the boat launch at Lake Pleasant in Arizona. And he said he looked around. So he's standing in the water, like, I don't know, maybe up to his knees or something, like not deep enough for his mom to be concerned, but she was there.
Right.
And he said he looked around and he saw these like glowing green fish skeletons that started like popping up all around him in the water. And he says, I could tell they were glowing because it was dusk and they were really like bright under the water. And so he says, my mom and her man at the time instantly said, you need to get out of the water. But you could tell they weren't like going to come anywhere close to it. So
Whoa.
weird.
What
This
would
is the
that
last
be?
one. I don't know. He's a lot of these. He says like, I'm still trying to figure out what the fuck that was.
Right.
Like, I don't know what that
Yeah.
was.
Wow. Not to make light of it at all, but it reminds me of that Kim Possible episode. Do you remember
Yes,
that one
I
with the
know.
swamp?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. The swamp. Um, so this is a little bit older, a couple of years later, and he says he's at one of their family homes, basically alone because his grandparents who were there at the time were taking a nap. And so he was running back and forth from the living room to the bedroom, trying to catch what he saw on the living room TV in the bedroom, like trying to like race faster
Yeah.
than I guess the cable. I don't
Yeah.
know. So he was going back and forth, back and forth. He finally caught it. It's basically just a time delay, but he was just a little kid.
Right.
And he was doing it for a while until one trip back to the bedroom, and I stopped dead in my tracks because there's someone standing there in the hallway or the doorway, I guess. And I can only describe him as resembling like a metal band member, like Kiss or something like that, with like black and white, like face and body paint. But it didn't seem to have any color to it at all. And it looked like emotionless aside from like kind of looking caught off guard that he had like seen it
Right.
or caught it, I guess. And he says, but it had white eyes, as in just like white, like holes. Like there was
Yeah.
no like iris or pupil, like nothing like that. And it was covered in like leather straps, like crazy looking
Whoa.
crap with like
Weird.
black hair, like sticking up in every direction. And he says, if I had to guess, it was like 8 or 9 feet tall because it filled the hallway and seemed to be hunched in order to fit like kind of into the doorway.
Wow.
So it was huge. I only waited a minute looking at it before I turned and ran. By minute, he means moment, before I turned and ran. But something told me to look back and it was gone. There was nothing but the room behind it.
Wow.
So he thought for sure the guy his mom was seeing was like fucking with him. So
Yeah.
they come back home. They pull up an hour later in the driveway and he runs out there and he's like, funny trick you played. Like, you scared me. Like, that wasn't very nice. And they're looking at him like, what are you talking
Yeah.
about? And he's like, you know, they go back and forth. He finally manages to accept like it wasn't him. But then he's like, then what was it? So he found out later that a bunch of animals and people had died in that house. And I guess his sister told him, who's older, later that, because I guess it was so his sister, it's his dad, who's the guy his mom was with, and it's his house. So I think he stopped going there after they split up.
Right.
But the sister later told him that there was a guy who killed his family and then shot himself in that house before they moved in.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
still no idea what he saw, but probably some residual energy there.
Yeah,
So
bad energy.
bad energy is right. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So those are our
Scary.
stories from Tony. Thank you so much, Tony.
Yeah.
And for the rest of you fools out there, send us your spooky stories.
Please do. We'd love it.
Yeah, you guys know the drill. girlsgonespooky@gmail.com. We're also at Girls Gone Spooky on all the social channels. We love you. We hope this episode scared you as much as it scared me. It's like very creepy. I had chills the whole time.
Yeah.
And Noah was in the gym, but I knew he was coming back. But I kept like thinking I like saw something or heard something, and so I'd like,
Yeah.
it wasn't back, and I was like, oh, come back. I'm scared.
Yeah, please do. Good thing he's there now.
Goodness.
Thank goodness.
Did I forget anything else?
No, other than to stay spooky.
Stay spooky, homies. We will catch you next week. Bye.
Bye.